Hello, everyone. You are at Put Your Agents to Work with Slack Actions. I always love to throw up a forward-looking statement. I don't work for Salesforce or Slack, but please don't make your purchasing decisions based on anything I say, although the majority of this is GA. Feedback is a gift, and I would love your feedback. I always love to know if I can do better, and I know Salesforce would definitely love your feedback for this event. I want to thank you for joining this session. I know you had your choice of sessions today. Appreciate you joining mine. My name is Nicole Pomponio. I am Director of Delivery and Operations over at SaltClick. I am also a Slack community group leader in the King of Prussia, PA area, so I drove up here today. That was pretty fun. Haven't gone through the Lincoln Tunnel in a while. I am also recent MVP and Golden Hoodie recipient, and I had the joy of working through a few hackathons and some Agentforce builds as well. So we are going to talk about the why and the why now for Agentforce and Slack. I know you're getting a ton of marketing, so I want to make it real for you. We're going to talk about use cases you can actually use today. I'm going to show you how to get started. That can be tricky sometimes, especially with AI. We're going to look at default Slack topics and actions. That means you don't have to go build it. It already exists. And then we'll go through a couple demos as well. So let's talk about the vision and what we could potentially do with Agentforce and Slack. When Agentforce lives inside of Slack, AI becomes a real teammate that helps you do all of the things you want to do faster, right? That's the vision. It brings everything to you, and then you can go do actions faster. And why do we want to think about doing this now? We heard really strongly at Dreamforce that Slack is being positioned in front of Salesforce, your other systems, your platforms, and it's becoming your home base. So it's where you're going to be working through your processes. It's where your people are already talking about and doing work. So that's the why now. It's a perfect time to start playing around with Slack if you haven't already. And what better place to actually have your agent than in with your people where they're already doing their work and where their conversational insights are. So that's a big buzzword for all of the stuff they're talking about every day is in Slack. And you're going to surface that up to your agent, and it's going to give them the context they need to do more faster. So that's going to help you when you're ready to actually go live with an agent as well. So let's talk about how to actually do that, right? Because it sounds like a lot of marketing, so let's cut through that. We've got some out-of-the-box Slack agents that you could start to use today. These are pre-created for you. They're made up of topics, instructions, and actions that will help you go do these things, right? So Slack Employee Agent reduces your internal requests. Bear with me one second. Okay, so your Slack Employee Help Agent can actually act as if they are your HR department, they're your team leads, all of that context that you would be giving to an employee when they need help in that moment. You can load that up into Slack and Salesforce and then surface that up to your employees so you're not answering repetitive questions constantly. And then when we look at new hire onboarding, we're bringing somebody new onto our team. There's a process that we have for that. Hopefully you have that baked out today. You can start to leverage Agentforce and Slack to do that with you and for you. So you can make sure that those people that are coming into your organization have the right information, it's consistent, they've got a great experience coming in, they have exactly what they need. So your ramp up time for them is going to be much faster, and your time going through those repetitive motions, maybe missing a couple things along the way, is going to be reduced. And then we've got also a Slack Customer Insights agent. That's going to help think about your sales folks when they're actually looking for account information. They're going to be able to ask their agent, what have we done lately for this customer? What's on the horizon for them opportunity-wise? And they're going to be able to do that by talking to an agent in Slack. So it gets surfaced right up to them. So those things sound nice, right? We know things aren't really plug and play all of the time. So let's look at what these agents are made of. It's a little behind the scenes for you. So your Agentforce agents are going to be made up of topics, instructions, and actions. So your topics are actually what define what the agent can do. So it tells them what to do, when to go do it. The more well-defined your topics are, the more accuracy you're actually going to get with the agent that you're building. Your agent is also made up of instructions and actions. So you can think of the instructions as the guidelines for your agent. The example I like to give for this is if you're training a new hire, you're going to really have to map it out for them, right? You have to give them a lot of context, a lot of background. It's the same thing for our agent. We have to act as if they know nothing and then build those instructions out for them. And then, of course, we've got our actions, and that's the tools or what your agent is actually going to go do. So let's look at some out-of-the-box Slack topics. We have general Slack, creating an executive brief, finding an expert in Slack, and then Slack knowledge. General Slack, think of that as providing core knowledge between the two systems. So if I want to go find something in Slack when I'm in Salesforce, this is most likely a topic that you're going to add onto your agent. And that's going to help really contextualize for your agent what they should be doing, what knowledge they should have, and they're going to be able to go find that in Slack. Because you have Slack knowledge as well, and that actually searches inside of Slack for the information that you're looking for. So that can actually surface Salesforce knowledge inside of Slack. It can help find related records there as well. You've got all of your conversational insights, again, a little buzzword there, but all of your conversation that's happening in Slack, you can find that and bring that into Salesforce. And then just to skip back to creating an executive brief there, that's a way where you can automatically create something that you could hand over to an executive. You might have to refine that a little bit, but based on the data that you have, not only in Salesforce, but in Slack as well. So think about a time when you've been asked to create an RFP or some type of FYI for an executive. You've got information in Salesforce and fields. You might have some files in there. You've got conversations happening in Slack. You're going to bring all of that together, and that context and that data is going to help you create that draft, I'll call it, because you're going to want to review that. You're going to want to refine it. And then this one up here is really fun, finding an expert in Slack. So that is going to actually identify some subject matter experts for you in Slack by mapping or knowing a Salesforce user's relationship to a Slack user, and then figuring out what records they are touching often, what channels they're in often, and then bringing those two things together. So you're going to be able to find your Slack expert and relate them to your Salesforce expert with that find an expert topic. All right. We're cruising right along. We're already at Slack actions. So we talked a little about before, our agent is made up of topic, instructions, and actions. Our actions are what we're going to be able to do. So there's quite a lot there. I think when they first came out, there were like 3 or 4. They're up to like 15 or 16. I think every month or two, they just continuously add on. All of the things that you're doing in Slack, you're going to eventually start to see all of those things on this list of actions as well. So remember, those are the tools that you're giving to your agent to go do something based on the prompts and the context that you're giving it. Okay, all of that sounds great. Let's talk about some favorites, and let's start to really visualize what the topics and actions could mean for you. So one of my favorites is going to be the Canvas-related actions. I will share with you a little secret because we have the time. When Canvas first came out, I was not a believer in Canvas. I had Confluence, like there's already documentation, we got G Drive, G Sheets, all kinds of stuff going on. But the more I used it, the more I actually fell in love. I think a little bit of it was the formatting, but we use it in our project channels with customers and in our internal project channels. So think about what you could do as a delivery manager or a project manager or even a sales leader or sales AE in a Canvas, surfacing up information to your teams, to your leadership. The example that I like to talk through is as a PM, project manager, I often have to think about risks and issues for my project. Sometimes that's just conversations back and forth in Slack. Sometimes it's risks that we log in Salesforce. So I can actually talk to my agent now and say, hey, can you help me create a risk and issue tracker or a risk and issue outline for this customer so that we can go into a meeting a little bit more prepared and have a better understanding of everything that's out there. So that's just one example of what you could do with Canvas. The next one we can look at is getting a Slack user and sending a DM. So one of the things that I struggle with as a delivery leader is remembering all of the accounts and who their sales rep is. Not so great with that. I remember your face, but don't always remember your name when I'm searching in Salesforce. So as a delivery leader, because it can be difficult to keep track of all that, it's really nice to be able to ask an agent and say, hey, who owns this account? Can you send them a message for me about this risk that just popped up? Or can you send the account owner of ABC account a message, it looks like their customer's up for renewal. So it's that relationship between Slack and Salesforce users, and then adding on to that, the ability to just send that person a message without having to go find them. So it's taking some actions and performing them for you. Next thing we're going to talk about, of course, is Salesforce channels. Love those. It's bringing Salesforce even more into Slack. And you have the ability to create a Salesforce channel from Salesforce. You could do this manually by clicking a button, but wouldn't it be nice as a sales leader, if I'm in Slack talking to my team, realizing that, hey, this opportunity needs a little bit of a swarm, asking the agent to create the channel, update a couple fields, and maybe create a brief for us in a Canvas. Can layer these actions together to really get the most out of them. The world is your oyster if you think about it when you start building these topics and actions together. And my fourth favorite, I guess, although it's hard to get a favorite because I love everything about Slack, is searching inside of Slack. So you have the ability to search messages, you can search files now. If you're on enterprise level, you could also search connected systems. This, of course, respects your Salesforce permissions, but you have the ability to go find information that's in Slack and pull it into Salesforce, or vice versa. If you're looking for information in Salesforce, you could pull that into Slack. So I really like to think about this as a step further into that bi-directional relationship between the two. Layer that on with channels, layer that on with all of this generative AI. You really start to envision how you could create your own assistant that really does cut into some of the time in your day to make your life a little bit easier. And just to call out, you do have to @mention your agent in your Slack channel. I did build out a custom app with an agent that allowed me to message them directly without having to say their name. But when you build your own, you don't get all of the fun things that are inside of Salesforce inherently. So I would definitely suggest before you take that journey, building your own custom AI app, to really test out some of the out-of-the-box agents. Some people are nervous or not sure what to do first. Those are a really nice entry point into starting to connect your systems together and understanding how AI really functions with Agentforce. And it's low risk because it's internal, right? I'm not exposing anything to a customer. I'm using our own folks as beta fish, and they love it, and they're having fun. And it gets me more comfortable with the technology and eventually exposing that out. All right, I just talked a whole bunch, so let's look at a couple things. Doing great on time. Okay, so the first demo is going to be the setup, the connection between Salesforce and Slack, and then connecting or adding in your agent into Slack. So I'll talk through them a little bit here. Here we go. Okay, so setting up your base connection between Slack and Salesforce, you're going to need the URL of your Salesforce instance. You're going to throw it in the top. You're going to set your connection. You have to map whether email or user ID. Then you're going to go into Salesforce and look up your Slack connection area. Choose the connection that you chose in Slack. You have to agree to some terms. You're going to read all the terms and conditions. You're going to accept them. You're going to go back to Slack, review what you set up, and when you feel comfy, you're going to hit activate. And that's your baseline connection. So that's like 30 to 60 seconds if you're reading everything. Then inside of Salesforce, we actually did a few of the pre-setup steps. So you have to give your agent permissions through profiles or permission sets. you have to set up a connected app. And then we selected the onboarding template here. So we did some of that so you didn't have to sit through it. But now I actually have to set up my connected app. So we're just going to go and click Add. We're going to choose API. You're going to give it a name that makes sense to you and everybody else. And then for the connected app, we set up Slack. So we're just going to choose that from our list. If you didn't set one up, it links you out to be able to do that right from that screen. You're going to save that. You do have to remember to activate your agent. This is going to give us some messaging that we're going to ignore because it's a demo. And then that was the configuration and setup of our out-of-the-box onboarding agent. I need to go back into Slack. That agent is there ready for review. I need to review the agent because I need to double check the permissions that I'm giving that agent. So it's going to list them out for me. Make sure everything looks good. I feel comfortable with this. I'm going to allow that, and it's going to move it into my activated agent tab. I do always forget this step. You have to choose the workspace that your agent is going to go into. If you have more than one, if you're on grid, that's awesome. You just have to select the one it's going to. If not, if you only have one, you still have to select that. And then we'll go into Slack, and my wonderful Slack bot has notified me that that agent is active, it's ready to go, and I can actually look at the profile from this button click. You do have the capability to update the naming of the agent in case you want that outward agent to be named something else for your users. And that's it. So we connected Slack and Salesforce, we enabled our agent, and we added it into our Slack workspace so people can start chatting away. The next demo I'm going to show you is something that we built out at a recent hackathon. It's actually a nonprofit volunteer use case, and still good on time. So inside of Salesforce, we log volunteer opportunities through campaigns, and then we log the jobs that volunteers can sign up for. And then the demo is actually going to show you the connection between a custom-built agent for Salesforce and Slack and helping volunteers sign up for those jobs. So we're going to look at this one. Our volunteer rep is looking. There's a ton of volunteers that are still needed for this job. So we want to go and actually ask our agent which jobs we still need volunteers for. The agent's going to share those details, and now we want to know what shifts are available for that. Once we know the shifts, we also want to figure out who's the best volunteer based on capacity and skill set, and they're going to give us who might be best fit for that job. So it looks like Jane is going to be the best option for this job. We like to keep a little bit of human in the loop. We like to send messages to people directly and say, hey, we have a session available. Do you want to get added to this session? Jane loves it. She wants to get added in there. We're going to go back to our agent and say, hey, Jane's good with this. Let's add her onto that job. They're going to complete that action for me, and they're going to send that final message to Jane, just letting her know that she's been added. So there you can see that one was custom. We're connecting Salesforce and Slack. We're talking to our agent, and it's taking actions for us when we're comfortable with it doing that. So you've got various levels of what your agent can do for you based on your comfort level. Okay, I just said a whole bunch of stuff. I hope you have questions. You can definitely come up to me after. If you're just starting your journey or you want to get a little bit more in-depth into your journey, some great resources up here. Grab a picture of that. So you're going to check out the webinar for driving productivity. There's also ways to set up and manage Agentforce in Slack. That's a great read. You definitely want to check that out. And then just checking through the standard agent actions for Slack. That changes continuously, so that's a great one to save and reference back to. All right, and you guys know I love GIFs. So please, please gift me your feedback. I would love to see just as many people taking picture of this. No pressure. But would love your feedback, always looking to improve. Hoped you gathered something useful from this, and open to your questions as well if you guys want to come up and ask me anything. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all of you coming out.